What's going on, Keymaker Nation? This is Brad with another Keymaker Nation podcast episode. This particular episode is the Up Next episode for week of 10/28 through 11/3. And basically, we're going to cover the Up Next for the podcast and what's up next for the business. And so this is the first of its kind for that. This is the beginning of the week, so I want to cover what's up and coming for this next week and try to execute on this throughout the week. You wake up, drive 30 minutes to work as an employee at your 9 to 5, which you hate, and all you can think about at work is providing for your family, starting your business, moving it forward, changing the world, and in the process, living the life of freedom and fulfillment you've always imagined. This podcast helps you transition from employee to entrepreneur. My name is Bradley G. Smith, and welcome to the Keymaker Nation podcast. So this is this is a little bit different than normal format. I'm recording this on the weekend. Normally you catch me in the car, but since I'm recording this on the weekend, I'm not always going to be able to be in the car on the weekend. And so I'm going to share just what I have with you while I'm sitting at my desk. And the light is not ideal, but as I mentioned just in the last episode, the Week in Review episode, in order to sort of keep this sustainable, it's going to be easiest and best for me to just record the episode because I'm not always even going to be sitting in front of my desk. I might be maybe in the kitchen or on the couch or in on my bed right before I go to sleep and trying to share some thoughts with you. And so that's sort of the reason for like the not perfect lighting and stuff like that if you're watching this on YouTube. But I still have some good information to share with you, and so I'm going to try to do that right now. So, and then, of course, I'm looking at my notes over here if you're catching me on YouTube and wondering why I'm not always looking at the camera. So as far as the podcast goes, for week of 10/28 through 11/3, I am, Monday morning, going to be releasing 4 episodes in a row, and so I just wanted to make sure I'm sort of keeping up with my commitment to myself. Now, I know I won't always be able to release every single day, but since this was the first weekend that I'm doing a week in review podcast and an Up Next podcast, I wanted to make sure I got these in here. And then I also wanted to get a kickoff for Monday's episode, so I'll get that in there as well. So I've got Friday's episode because I went camping over the weekend with my son, and I'll get back into that in the next episode. I'm going to talk about camping a little bit, but then so I've got Friday's episode, and then Saturday's episode was the Week in Review episode. Sunday's episode is technically this Up Next episode. And then Monday's episode, I'm going to talk about funnel building and camping. And so 4 episodes. Normally I won't do 4, so if it bothers you that I'm releasing 4 all quick like this, sorry about that, but we should be pretty good to go most of the time. So anyways, releasing podcast episodes on Facebook. My goal is to get these episodes on Facebook. I've been wanting to do it for a long time, mainly because there's a lot of just social community building aspect to Facebook, and I've been hearing a lot of strategies about getting your recordings on Facebook and maybe even doing Facebook Lives, and I would like to move in that direction, doing a Facebook Live episode, but I got to be consistent about it, and I haven't been able to find the time to be consistent about it yet, so I've got to figure out how that works in. But in the meantime, I've got all the source videos, so I should just be able to get those up on Facebook, and I'd like to do that and share that with everybody, and then maybe even start driving some traffic to those particular episodes, maybe like boosting each one of these posts so it gets a little bit of traction. My end goal there would be ultimately to get listenership and potentially people in a Facebook group that I run, and then also maybe people who want to hear more about these episodes or my business on a list. And that would basically be getting everyone into traffic that I'm able to own if I have them on a list that I can send emails to. So that would be the benefit of getting them on Facebook. So that's my goal with the podcast, get the episodes on Facebook. And if I can't get all the episodes, because right now there's a lot at this point, I'm hitting 30 plus episodes. So I'm just going to have to put a little bit of work into this every night, I think, just until I get this up. And it may take actually a couple of weeks to do this, but I'll probably spend some of my time doing that. And then I want to build some lead magnets, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I want to add the lead magnet mentions into the podcast so that I can use the podcast as a little bit of a marketing funnel for the products or services that my business offers. And so I'm going to try to get those mentions in the podcast. And ideally, I would have like an outro that would have the lead magnet mentions, or an intro that has the lead magnet mentions. And that's one of the other items that I have. Get extra intros for the podcast. I like the intro I have now, but I want to make sure that people don't tune it out the second that they hear it. And I want to sort of rotate between a couple different intros. And that was a lot of work for me to put that one intro together. I know it's not anything amazing, but I might do a little bit of outsourcing on that so I can get a couple of different intros at the same time. Maybe I'll record the audio, but get somebody to do the artwork for the intro. And then so I also wanted to, I know this is like such a small task, but I want to number all the current episodes on the podcast. And there's a funnel play there. And what I mean by that is right now, all the podcasts, as they show up in an RSS feed or a podcast feed, don't have numbers associated with them. On YouTube, they all do. But on like iTunes or Spotify, if you see it there, none of them have numbers. And the benefit of having numbers there is that when I drive traffic, when I mention in the podcast to, hey, if you guys want podcast or show notes for this, or you guys want to see the full transcript for this particular episode, go to keymakernation.com/podcast/number of the episode. So if I'm on episode 33, I would say keymakernation.com/podcast/33. And then I'd be able to drive someone using audio cues only to my website, and potentially be able to have some lead magnets on the website or some show notes that somebody could download and start driving interest for my business in that way. And so I'm going to try to work towards that and get all the episodes numbered in the podcast. And I think that'll have some benefit down the road. And I sort of heard that strategy from somewhere else, and I'm just trying to execute on that. It's a way to monetize your funnel without having to, show ads or queue up audio ads in your podcast. Instead, you're just mentioning. In a lot of times, podcasts or podcast hosts will give you the ability to integrate ads right from their platform into your podcast. And a lot of times that just causes a lot of non sequiturs in a podcast. Basically, you'll get a podcast that has people advertising for it that doesn't have anything to do with the topic that the presenter is talking about. So my goal there is to see, that may make sense sometimes, but I'm going to try to figure out how I can use the podcast to also drive traffic to the business in my business instead of an advertiser's business. And so that's what that is working towards. And then as far as what episodes I'm going to cover this week, that's always to be determined, at least at this point, because I don't have enough show notes written out in advance yet. But it's always based on the current podcast that I'm listening to, the current business work that I'm currently executing on, and whatever podcast notes, like I just mentioned a second ago, podcast show notes that I have. So yeah, that's the podcast, and episodes at this point in time are just to be determined. I can't spell out what they're going to be yet because sometimes I don't even know them yet. And so a lot of times I'll just fill up my my queue for speaking about Keymaker Nation podcast by listening to podcast episodes across an array of marketing topics. And so yeah, that's what is on the docket for the podcast this week. And then as far as my business is concerned, Of course, I have to execute on, I just mentioned in the last episode that I just got my first Facebook ads client for my business. I'm really excited about that. And it's a seasonal promotion, so I've got to make sure I'm executing on that and paying attention to the numbers and making adjustments as necessary. But besides that, I've got to build some lead magnets, the ones that I mentioned a second ago, and put those up online so that they can be downloaded or so that I can be contacted after these lead magnets are downloaded or reviewed, and then they will be mentioned in the podcast later on. And then I have a goal. I have a very specific strategy that I have in mind that I'm trying to execute on for my business. And I think that would help elevate me as a consultant for any business out there that I would be, any particular business in my market that I would help service. It's around course creation. But I have already built an entire course on funnel building. And right now that's only available through a very specific funnel that I send people into. But I have some of those videos that are in that course that I want to pull out of the course and just upload straight to YouTube. Right now they're hosted on Vimeo, which means that they can all be private. I mean, YouTube videos can all be private too, but Vimeo is my hosting solution right now for videos for business. And that is for any IP related videos for business. So any of my coursework videos are currently hosted on Vimeo. So I want to take some of the videos, the source videos that I have for that course, and put them on YouTube, because some of those videos help explain some of the expertise that I have related to funnel building. And so yeah, my goal is to get specifically funnel integration videos over to YouTube. And then for the business also, I want to take that course that I have, and I think I've seen a really good explanation and strategy for getting your courses on Udemy, mainly using it as a way to build your audience and your list. There's a very good way to build your audience and list by using Udemy. And you can basically, from Udemy, send people into your Facebook Messenger chatbot or chat list that's connected to your business page. And then you can also, from there, just auto subscribe them based on them selecting yes or no with your chatbot, auto add them to your email list. And again, at that point, you own the traffic. They're on your email list. They've consented to you sending them emails on a regular basis, or whatever basis you've specified with them. So I'm going to start getting some courses up on Udemy, and I think I'll just start with the course that I've already recorded. It's about 6+ hours of content, almost 40 videos, and it's a really detailed course on funnel building, and sort of goes through a lot of the options that are out there in terms of funnel building for a business. So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. That's what's up next for 10/28 through 11/3. And yeah, this should be sort of a kickoff to the next week. And I plan to do this every week so we can sort of, you can listen to the week in review episode and hear what was executed on and what podcast episodes we covered. And then I'll hit an up next episode, which is what this is. And I'll talk about what's next for the podcast and in my own business, especially as I'm excited about helping you guys as you're transitioning from employee to entrepreneur. And I want to do everything I can to help you with that, and also share my strategies that I'm using in the process. So yeah, guys, that's it for the up next episode, the first ever for Keymaker Nation. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Hey guys, don't forget to join me in the Keymaker Nation private Facebook group. If you're listening to the podcast via iTunes, please rate and review. And if you're listening via YouTube, don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe. And as always, thanks for listening.